You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars. So whenever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you.
I don't think it is very useful to speculate on what God might or might not be able to do. Rather, we should examine what he actually does with the universe we live in.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon. The most profound discoveries are not necessarily beyond that next star. They're within us, woven into the threads that bind us.
Hello, beautiful people. Happy Thursday, happy Jupiter day, and welcome to Mercury Retrograde. It's been a few days since I went live, but of course, had to come back for the most infamous transit in astrology. So in today's episode, I'll walk you through what this Mercury retrograde means, what it's bringing as it transits backwards through Capricorn, of course, the rest of the forecast today, what's going on with the Aries moon, and then I'll take you through each sign, what themes Mercury retrograde will likely bring up, or I should say bring back up over the next couple weeks. So Rachel is here with us. Hello, haven't seen you in a bit. It feels like so long, even though it's only been like a week. And before we get into it, today's notable Capricorns celebrating their birthdays. Jude Law is a Capricorn. Diego Luna as well. Allison Brie, love her. John Voight, Dylan Minette. Ted Danson is a Capricorn. Danny McBride. Lots of Capricorns celebrating today. And a lot more faces than I recognize than the names. So if you're a Capricorn, if you know someone celebrating today, give them a shout out in the comments so we can send some love their way and celebrate them too. Mercury is officially retrograde. So let's knock on wood that technology is going to work in our favor for the next couple weeks. Mercury retrograde is notorious for tech glitches and communication breakdowns. We're going to be chatting about it, but I'm curious if you're joining me live or if you're finding this video later, let me know if you've already been feeling Mercury retrograde. It's that retrograde that everybody likes to talk about. Everybody likes to blame everything on Mercury retrograde. I get it. Mars is retrograde too, though. So we've got a double retrograde going on. And Uranus is also still retrograde. Rachel says, you know it's Mercury retrograde when you're sick and the only time you have off. So tired, just trying to rest to feel better. Hi, Katie. We missed you too. Yeah, I'm feeling for you, Rachel. And I know that a lot of people's travel plans have been messed up. There's been tons of flight cancellations even before Mercury stationed retrograde. Remember, Mercury's already been in its shadow period for about the past week and a half or so. So you might have already started feeling the effects. Yeah. So feel free to share your Mercury retrograde stories on this video. This will be relevant for the next couple weeks. Mercury is retrograde until January 18th. But let's get a check on the current energy first. The sun is in Capricorn. The moon is in Aries. We're coming into the first quarter moon pretty much as we speak right now. Capricorn and Aries are both cardinal signs. So there's kind of this push or this invitation to take action, take that next step, maybe even take that first step and lead the way for others. Also, just an aside, I am dog sitting and there might be some dog action going on in the background. Just if you hear any weird noises, those are the dogs, okay? just so you know, it's a live stream after all. All right, let's get into it though. Without further ado, Mercury retrograde. Mercury stationed retrograde overnight for most of us, about 1:30 in the morning at 24 degrees. So this is a great point to pull out your chart, see where 24 degrees of Capricorn falls. Mercury is going to move back to, I believe, 8 degrees or so during its retrograde. I should have that off the top of my head, but I don't. However, it's basically the whole Capricorn portion of your chart is going to be affected by Mercury retrograde. So it's nice to know what area of your life will likely be affected the most. And if you're not there on your astrology journey yet, hang tight. I will let you know based on your rising sign how this transit, how this retrograde is probably going to show up in your life. But overall, what do we know about Mercury retrograde? Well, like I said, communication breakdowns, tech glitches, travel issues. Mercury is the planet of communication, short-term travel, and technology. So all of these themes in our life are being affected by the retrograde. And since Mercury retrograde is that notorious transit that's probably going to hook some new people into astrology, I do want to clarify. Retrogrades are not to be feared. I know everybody's like, oh my gosh, it's Mercury retrograde. What's going to happen? Oh my goodness. Retrogrades are opportunities for review. What's happening in the night sky? What's happening with the planets? No, Mercury does not just stop mid-orbit and turn around and go backwards. Instead, from our vantage point here on Earth, it appears like Mercury is moving backwards. So almost every planet every year goes retrograde. Mercury tends to go retrograde 2, sometimes 3 times a year. We're just used to hearing about it more than the other retrogrades. And while we are observing Mercury moving backwards or appearing to move backwards in our night sky, it's an invitation to review, reflect, revise, remember. All of those words are activated by the retrograde. And so Mercury likes to move quickly. It likes to go, 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 do, a very fast-paced, productive sign. And during a retrograde, we often feel this slowdown or even this backtracking. Whatever is coming up now wants to be reviewed and wants to be noticed. So there can be some sort of resolution, right? So first and foremost, don't fear the retrograde. There's nothing to be scared of. Everything is working out in our favor. And this is a great opportunity to slow down. It's interesting that we're experiencing a Mercury retrograde at the very end of this year. And as the new year begins, Mercury and Mars will still both be retrograde. Mars stations direct January 12th, Mercury stations direct January 18th. So this is just an invitation to start the year slow. Expect the unexpected. Not to make any intense plans right when the clock strikes midnight on January 1st, right? To, I would say, wait until the new moon in Aquarius on January 21st to really start anything new at this point. So if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by the pressure of the new year, Mercury retrograde's kind of got your back, and it's just this invitation to not start anything new, to take it slow and continue this review of the year that's behind us. And that's going to be a big theme as we talk about Mercury retrograde, specifically in Capricorn. Hey, Corby. Yes, so much Capricorn energy. And if you watched the new moon forecast last Thursday, a lot of the themes we talked about for your horoscopes for Capricorn season for the Capricorn new moon will be the same themes that come up during today's horoscopes and during the entirety of Mercury retrograde. So not only is Mercury retrograde, but Mercury is retrograde in Capricorn. And this is really helping us to take a practical approach to the review we're doing. I love that this is happening at the end of the year when so many people are doing their year in review posts, or even just looking back, thinking back on 2022 and looking at the year as a whole. I'm hoping with Mercury retrograde in Capricorn, most of us can feel some sense of achievement, accomplishment, or success. Capricorn energy is all about the finish line, the success, the achievement, getting to the top of the mountain, right? So hopefully during your review, you can find those shining moments and give yourself a pat on the back. Even if maybe you didn't make it quite as high on the mountain as you wanted to, you climbed, you learned, you succeeded in some sense. You're still here. You still have another day ahead of you. That's an accomplishment in itself, right? So Capricorn also likes to teach us lessons. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, the planet of lessons, right? You might find yourself reviewing the lessons you've learned so far in 2022 during Mercury retrograde. Also reviewing long-term plans, looking back at like, okay, how much did I accomplish in 2022? And what's realistic for me to set goals about in 2023? This is a very realistic approach to a Mercury retrograde. Now, yes, tech issues, communication breakdowns are likely. And with Mercury in this very serious sign of Capricorn, I will say it's not necessarily what you say, but how you say it. You might remember when we first talked about Mercury and Capricorn, how I mentioned Mercury and Capricorn can be kind of cold and harsh. There's not a lot of emotion infused into our communication. So we want to be especially mindful of how we're expressing ourselves during this Mercury retrograde. It'll be Capricorn season all the way through the retrograde. And it might be that you have positive intentions with what you're trying to express, but because communication breakdowns are likely, you might have to be more intentional about how you're saying things. It could be that something you say has the best of intentions, but gets misconstrued because the tone is just not quite how you intended it to be, if that makes sense. So being extra mindful, slowing down in the way you're communicating and how you're communicating might just take a little extra effort than normal to infuse compassion and sincerity into those talks. And it is interesting that we have this very careful energy with Mercury and Capricorn because it's bringing this nice level of caution and care to all of our communication, even our planning of things. And that can be much needed during a retrograde. So leaning into that natural caution that comes with Mercury and Capricorn. Now, you might also notice things being revisited that first popped up in the last couple weeks during Mercury's shadow period. Any information, conversation, ideas, arguments, plans that were sparked in the past couple weeks will likely be revisited as Mercury makes its way back over those same degrees it just passed through. Patience is key, and patience comes naturally during Capricorn season. So just remembering patience. It might even feel like how fast people are talking is requiring patience, or I should say how slow people are talking. People being slow to respond in correspondence to emails. Remember, it's the very end of the year, the very beginning of the year. A lot of people are traveling. A lot of people are dealing with travel issues. Things are getting lost in translation more easily right now, and Mercury retrograde is only going to complicate that even more. Corby says, felt the pressure earlier, but got grounded, and I'm moving and taking things slow. Perfect. Just one step at a time during Capricorn season, right? Rachel says, with Capricorn being the ruler of most of my fourth house, a lot has been coming up right now for me. That is the need for stability and strength. Hoping this transit will help with that. I think the retrograde can help us, wherever it's showing up in your chart, help us review our thought processes, our patterns. Retrogrades are notorious for bringing up patterns and bringing up our awareness of our patterns, especially a Mercury retrograde. So what are your thought processes behind stability and strength? What are your values? What is your communication like? What are your patterns? How are you playing into your feelings about the need for stability and strength? That's not to call you out or anything, but that's kind of what the retrogrades ask us to do, like taking a look at our own patterning, especially when we're talking about a Mercury retrograde with how we are communicating. She says, I also plan on using this transit as a review time of what I want to create and put into action when it stations direct. Yes, and I love that we have this natural slowdown with Mars retrograde, Mercury retrograde. It's like there's no pressure to start anything new at the beginning of the new year. I had multiple readings today, and the guidance I gave was like, just wait, just hold off. And that's the guidance I will give to everybody right now. Just looking at the transits, like we have two major retrogrades happening. This isn't the time to start anything new. This is the time to look back on what worked in 2022 and maybe what didn't work in 2022 and what we don't want to carry into the new year. even just our patterns and our thoughts, our beliefs. These are things that we can review and decide, is this serving me still? Katie says, I love that I have Mercury in Aquarius. I feel like this retrograde in Capricorn helps me review and learn. Aquarius helps me with a new perspective. Yeah, I love that. I love that. And soon Mercury will be in Aquarius in, I believe, in February. So you'll be right at home in the next couple months. My daughter's got some major sassy energy. Grateful for knowing the transits to help guide her. She's a Capricorn rising with Pluto and Mercury in Capricorn in her second house. Yeah, so Mercury retrograde might be a little tricky for her just because it's going through her first house. I think same with you too, Katie, right? But that's okay. Even like if Mercury is going through her first house, your first house, a lot of review about who am I becoming? What do I think about myself? Could be coming up during this time. But the plot thickens, okay? Because it's not just Mercury stationing retrograde today. It's Mercury stationing retrograde conjunct Venus. So let me pull up the chart so you can see this for yourself. Mercury and Venus are conjunct today. And it's so interesting that this Mercury retrograde starts with a conjunction to Venus, right? It feels to me that relationships are going to be a big theme of this Mercury retrograde because of the conjunction to Venus while Mercury stations. So on a normal day, Mercury conjunct Venus would help us express our love more easily, express our affection more easily, have realizations about our relationships, about our finances, about what we find beautiful in the world or how we're here to create beauty in the world. But as Mercury begins its backspin, that theme of patterns is likely coming back up in these areas as well. Our patterns around love, our patterns in relationships, our patterns about money, our patterns about beauty become more apparent. There's that saying, I'm sure you've heard, like, don't text your ex during Mercury retrograde. If there was a Mercury retrograde where exes were going to come back into the picture, this would be it. Mercury conjunct Venus at the station is like, hello, relationships from my past. Just let's open that right back up. Now, I'm not encouraging that. I'm just saying that's likely going to come up for a lot of us, old relationships or our patterns around relationships coming back into our main focus. Especially with Mercury and Capricorn, there is this awareness about the passage of time. Capricorn rules time. It's very slow and steady. And so with Venus in Capricorn, we talked about this as Venus moved into Capricorn. Venus will only be in Capricorn through Monday, then it moves into Aquarius. So these are the last few days where we're really, with Venus, thinking about the long-term potential of our relationships. Can this way of relating stand the test of time? Can it stand the test of time? Can this relationship stand the test of time? Can this investment stand the test of time? And with Venus and Capricorn, there is also this awareness of like timeless beauty, you know, like it's not trendy. It's like what's beautiful and always will be beautiful and will remain beautiful, right? So there is this awareness of the passage of time, which definitely plays into don't text your ex, right? There's this sense of nostalgia as Mercury is stationing retrograde and we're thinking about love and we're feeling into our relationships. Like, remember how nice that was. Remembering is huge with Mercury retrograde, especially Mercury retrograde in Capricorn. It's really reminding us of our past. So there could be the tendency to see past relationships and have some nostalgia about them and think back. But remember, oftentimes we romanticize the past. So don't get tricked into the trap of Mercury retrograde thinking that you had it so good back then when there's probably a reason you're not in that relationship anymore. Now, I will say, there is a chance that someone from your past comes back into the picture and it's meant to be. So you're your own best astrologer. You use your intuition. But if you're feeling this urgency to reach out to somebody from your past, you might want to check yourself and really like slow down and consider that decision because It could be easy to be overly nostalgic. In general, though, we'll likely be reviewing our relationships, reviewing our thoughts about relationships, reviewing our beliefs in relationships, reviewing our patterns in relationships, and all of that is true about money and beauty as well, because Venus rules love, money, and beauty. So pretty cool that Mercury is stationing retrograde conjunct Venus, and it does feel like this is going to be a major theme that plays out over the next couple weeks. Yes. One step at a time, Jackie says. Found myself saying that so much today. That is Capricorn season in general. One step at a time. And during Mercury retrograde, it might feel like you're taking one step back at a time. Like, okay, maybe there's something to review here. Do I need to slowly just take a step back, review? Do I need to go back further? Do I need, it's all about slowness. It's all about taking in the data, being very practical and logistical about our thoughts, the moves we're making, our plans right now. It does feel like there is this stillness or this urge to pause and review and assess with all of this Capricorn energy. Rachel says, I really love that perspective of reviewing your patterns. Seems like a good time for some healing and give yourself that grace for past relationships that didn't work and others you can let go. Yes, yes, yes. And maybe it's not, I need to text my ex, or maybe it's not like, I want to reach out to this person. But during your review, thinking about past relationships, what patterns did I play out in that relationship? What patterns did my partner play out? This isn't just for romance. This can be for your relationship with a friend, with a child, with a business partner. What patterns have played out that are no longer working? Mercury retrograde, especially in Capricorn, is helping us to review the lessons we already learned. And if the lessons are coming back up, they're not resolved. They want to be reviewed. They want to be relearned during this retrograde. But I love also that you bring up, Rachel, giving yourself grace for past relationships, because it's really easy to beat ourselves up, like looking back on a past version of ourselves and being like, oh my gosh, what an idiot. Like, why did I do that? Giving yourself grace. What did I learn from that? Rather than like, oh gosh, how embarrassing. I can't believe I did that. What did I learn from that? What did I gain from that? Is there still some lesson that I can remind myself of, or something more to learn from just simply reviewing my own patterns? Looking at multiple past relationships and seeing, what did I do the same in each of these things that is not working currently that I'm ready to evolve from or move on from? I just realized I have Capricorn in my 5th and 6th houses. So for you, it's probably going to be about your routines, your health, your wellness, and your creativity that this review is really focusing on, Jackie. With Mercury conjunct Venus, my partner took care of me while I was sick, and now he's sick, so I've been taking care of him. How funny how the roles switched. It's like that immediate review of like, wow, look at all the things he just did for me, and now I'm reviewing that, and that's pretty cool. That's how it's showing up for you, Rachel. Yeah, and Saturn and Uranus are in Capricorn, so definitely a review of lessons and how you've evolved and how you've changed, Jackie. Yes, yes, yes. I am feeling you right there with you. So that's what's going on with Mercury retrograde. And it's not just today. These themes will be showing up for the next couple of weeks. Let's talk about what's going on with the moon today, though, and then I'll tell you what this Mercury retrograde means for you based on your rising sign. So today we have the first quarter moon in Aries, which it feels like the theme of the day. This kept coming up in readings for me today, too. Like, kind of this contrast or this duality of Mercury retrograde, Capricorn season in general being like, slow down, sister, just take a pause, take a break, one step at a time. But the first quarter moon in Aries is like, it's go time, let's go, we've got to do it now, right? So there's almost this emotional impulse or even reactivity where we really want to take action. We really want to do something, and doing something feels really natural today. You might even feel like you want to get a jump start on your New Year's resolutions thanks to this first quarter moon in Aries. But again, it's really easy to be impulsive, reactive. Communication issues are par for the course. Tech issues are par for the course. So if you feel that impulse anytime the moon is in Aries, I always say, move your body. When in doubt, sweat it out. Moving your body, you'll never regret that, right? I guess if you did it too hard, but don't go too hard. Don't be too crazy. Okay, let's be responsible. It's Capricorn season after all. And that can be a great way to move any restless energy, any impulsive energy without feeling like you've got to do something permanent or long lasting, right? The moon is all about our body. It's all about our emotions. And where do emotions live? In the body. So moving your body is a really powerful way to move your emotions, especially under a first quarter moon in Aries. So if you're noticing the need to like do something right now, move your body instead of texting your ex or doing something impulsive, right? Like how can you channel that energy into something productive? Oh, yeah, Jackie. I also feel like I've been running out of time. Yes. Feeling earlier, the mix between go, go, go and being still, slow, steady wins the race. Yes. Yes. I think so many of us are in that place. And that's that contrast I was just talking about. The moon's in Aries. It's like, let's effing go, you know? But Capricorn season is like, whoa, we got to have a plan. We got to know where we're going. And everything is slowing down. It's like the still of winter right now. It's cold. It's been cloudy out for days where I live. I don't know about you. Maybe it's snowing. There's like that huge atmospheric river that's hitting the US in the next week. So a lot of storms are going to be happening. Find ways to move energy, move your body, even in the safety of your own home. And you know, having a productive channel and outlet for that energy. So again, you don't end up channeling it into a relationship and causing more issues than you bargained for. Corby says, same, pressure was on me to perform and do it all. Did some yoga to ground myself. You're already on the right page, Corby. Of course you are. Going to do some more tonight before bed. Yeah, and remember, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. It could just be like putting on a couple songs you like and dancing around your house or doing some jumping jacks. Like if you're feeling anxiety, it's probably energy wanting to be moved in some way. I often feel so much tension with my moon with the moon in Aries. My Mars in Taurus and all my earth energy wants a slower pace, doesn't like the heat of fire energy. I get it, Katie. But you know that now, right? How many years of your life were you just like, oh, I don't know what's wrong with me right now. And you just didn't know the moon is in Aries and that's just not your vibe, you know? Now you can have that compassion for yourself and that awareness. Okay, let's talk about what's been going on with the moon in Aries. So Jupiter is still at 0 degrees of Aries, which means right when the moon moved into Aries, it formed a conjunction to Jupiter. So you can see that there. And Jupiter right now is almost at 1 degree. I think Jupiter will move to 1 degree in the next couple days, and that should tone down some of that restless, impulsive energy, that feeling like we need to do it all right now. I think Corby said that, or Jackie said that. That's also Jupiter at 0 degrees of Aries. Jupiter at 0 degrees is like, we got to do it right now. You know, like it's just this eagerness. Once Jupiter moves past that critical degree, hopefully we can all settle into a little bit of a slower pace more easily. It won't feel so spontaneous and impulsive, hopefully. But the moon, when it moved into Aries, of course, met up with Jupiter right away. This was at like just before 3 a.m. Pacific time. So if you live on the East Coast, you might have woken up like raring to go, like, let's do it. Let's go today. You know, with the moon conjunct Jupiter, it can be overly optimistic and just like silver linings and all the things. Or with Jupiter at 0 degrees and the moon at 0 degrees, just this kind of intense restlessness. Sounds like some of you on the East Coast might have felt that this morning. If you live on the West Coast or even farther west, this was the middle of the night. Maybe you had a hard time sleeping. Maybe you had over-the-top dreams, but there's a good chance you just didn't really feel that conjunction between the moon and Jupiter overnight. Then the moon got pretty quiet for most of the morning, early afternoon. Yes, thank you, Jupiter, for getting me through the last day of work of the year. So there you go. East Coaster, Jupiter showed up in this nice way for you. Like, let's just get it all done now. Let's just go, 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 right? And hopefully now you can rest, relax, get well, rest your body, right? Now tonight, the moon is doing a few other things. So 4 p.m. Pacific time, and about an hour from now, the moon will square the sun. This marks the first quarter moon. A quarter moon is always a square between the moon and the sun. And when the moon squares the sun, there is that tension. We're literally feeling what you've all been talking about right now. The moon in Aries, go, do, move. The sun in Capricorn, slow down, be still, be patient, one step at a time. These two energies, the moon and the sun, our two main luminaries, are squaring each other, which brings tension. Do I move forward? Do I stand still? Do I do it all now, or do I wait and form a practical plan? And with Mercury stationing retrograde at the same time, it might just feel a little bit confusing. Like mentally, what am I supposed to do right now, right? Again, move your body, clear any tension, and be gentle with yourself, right? Like you don't have to get it all done now, even if there is that restlessness and that anxiety. I was wondering why I was ready for work, slept all day yesterday. Well, the moon moved from Pisces to Aries. So it was like, I felt that yesterday too. Like, I just want to do nothing. I just want to sleep. And then today, the moon in Aries, I'm like, here's some new energy. So that's a silver lining of the Aries moon. Oh, hope you had a great holiday, Bree. So happy you're here. Okay. Then tonight, 7 p.m. Pacific time, so 10 p.m. Eastern time, the moon will form a sextile to Mars retrograde. And when the moon connects with Mars, because Mars is retrograde, yes, we might still feel that like anxiety and need to do something, but also with Mars retrograde, it's like reviewing our motivations. Taking that moment to be like, why do I want to do that thing right now? Right? Like, why do I feel the need to be impulsive? Why do I feel the need to do something? So reviewing our why, reviewing our desires. And with the moon forming this nice supportive angle to Mars, it can kind of help us review and chart the best course forward rather than just like doing it. It's like, okay, let's review our why, let's review what's important, and then we can take maybe one step. But this is a moment today, especially this evening, to reflect on what do we really want. Mars retrograde, that's been the big question of Mars retrograde. What do you want? Where is your energy being pulled? Right? And what do you really want to continue investing your energy into? And where is it time to call your energy back? So the moon forming a sextile to Mars can kind of help us align our motivation with our actions without hopefully needing to do something about it right now. Again, you might feel impulsive today. That's just the Aries moon. You might feel like you want to start something and do something. That's normal. Okay, and then the very last transit we'll talk about, the moon forms a conjunction to Chiron. This is at 11 p.m. Pacific time, so 2 a.m. Eastern time. Another transit you might not exactly feel. It might be something that hits overnight for you. But as we go late into the night, the moon and Chiron will get nice and cozy in this conjunction. And that can bring up triggers, that can bring up impulses, that can bring up reactivity if our wounds are provoked. If our buttons are pushed, there is the tendency to blow up or to be more reactive. So something to keep in mind, but as Chiron always does, there's an opportunity offered here to heal. If we're willing to review, what do we really want? If we're willing to review, how are we using our energy? If we're willing to lean into Mercury retrograde right away and say like, what pattern is this that keeps playing out, that makes me feel reactive, that makes me feel impulsive? You know, what am I trying to escape? What am I trying to get away from? So the moon conjunct Chiron can make us a little tender, can make us a little reactive, but it can also show us exactly what still needs to be healed. And those are the transits. That's what's going on. This contrast between speeding up and slowing down. If you're feeling it, you're not alone. It's totally normal to be feeling that right now. And it's interesting. I've been thinking a lot about the end of the year and, you know, kind of like the theory of relativity, where At the beginning of the year, the days seem super slow because it feels like we have the whole year ahead of us. And then towards fall, it's like, oh my gosh, time is flying. But I feel like, maybe it's just me, but I feel like the last couple days of the year, it's almost the opposite, where I'm like, these days are kind of like dragging out and really forcing us to slow down and review and savor the last moments of 2022 before we move into 2023. Again, that might just be me, but I'm feeling like these days are kind of stretching out a little bit for us. Take advantage of the slowdown if you're feeling it. Lord knows it doesn't always feel slow. Sometimes it feels like time is flying before our eyes. So if you have some downtime, this is a beautiful time to slow down, review what you really want for the new year, get more clear through reviewing during Mercury retrograde. All right, let's talk about what Mercury retrograde is bringing for each sign. So this is the point where I invite you to take a look at your chart. Make sure you know what your rising sign is. If you don't have a copy of your chart, you can get one right now at thespiritualjournalist.com/birth chart for free. You can scan the QR code. There's a link down below. Look for Ascendant or ASC. That is your rising sign. If you don't know your rising sign, that's okay too. Listen for your sun sign. If it resonates, take it. If it doesn't, leave it. You are your own best astrologer, right? Yeah, Corby, I always feel like that. The end of the year, it's so slow. I appreciate this year, though. I need this review. And there are no coincidences with this slowdown, with these last couple days of the year, with Mercury stationing retrograde in Capricorn. The slowdown is that invitation to review and to give ourselves credit for how much we accomplished, to just take that moment, right? Yeah, Rachel, feeling it, and her body is feeling it too. I was literally like, you are going to rest whether you like it or not. Yeah, gotta listen to your body. Gotta listen to it, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's talk through what Mercury retrograde means for each sign. If you want a just quick horoscope you can read over, you can find it right now on today's forecast. Just go to thespiritualjournalist.com/daily astrology. The horoscopes are at the bottom of the forecast, and I'll also add markers to the timeline. So if you're getting to this point in the video and you don't want to wait to hear your rising sign, you can just look at the description down below or on the timeline and jump to whichever sign you are seeking guidance for. Okay. We're going to start with Capricorn because it's Capricorn season after all, and then we'll end with Aquarius. So we're going to make our way backwards through the zodiac. Capricorn risings. This Mercury retrograde is happening in your first house of self, of appearance, of purpose. So the question to ask yourself, the thing to review for you during Mercury retrograde is, who are you becoming? Who have you become over the past year, and who do you want to become in 2023? So looking back on 2022 and noticing, how has your identity shifted? How has your appearance even shifted? How are you showing up differently than you did at the beginning, January 1st? And with that awareness, honoring all the different versions of yourself you've been, not just through 2022, but even through years prior. And then with that awareness, who do I want to become? Who do I want to become in 2023? We're not meant to stay the same. We're meant to constantly evolve and change. So if you're a Capricorn rising, your sense of self is really coming into focus and asking you to review, who am I becoming? Sagittarius risings. Might be a time to look over your bank accounts, look over any accounting with Mercury retrograde moving through your second house, reviewing how you spend your money, the patterns in your cash flow, and also reviewing your values. What's really important to me? The second house rules income, cash, work, values. So it's kind of like physical security. You can think of it in that sense. By reviewing these things, reviewing your spending patterns, reviewing your bank accounts, even like looking back, if you use an accounting software, at the charts that the software gives you. Most bank accounts do that now, where you can see like, this little pie piece is how much I spent on food. This is how much I spent on rent. You know what I'm talking about. That can be a really great practice for you during Mercury retrograde, to be like, okay, how did I spend my money in 2022? Do I feel aligned with that? Is that aligned with my values? And what's my financial plan for 2023? With all of these horoscopes and with Mercury retrograde in general in Capricorn, there's this very practical sense of our review. So especially if you're a Sagittarius rising, getting like really practical and looking at the numbers, looking at how you've physically moved energy in 2022 can be really helpful to bring you some clarity in 2023. Moving on to our Scorpio risings. This Mercury retrograde is moving backwards through your third house. And the third house is the house of communication, of sibling relationships, of learning. So for you, conversations could be very big during Mercury retrograde. Remember, how you say it is just as important as the point or the message you're trying to get across. So if you're a Scorpio rising, you might not tend to be the most warm and fuzzy person up front. You might be a little more guarded or secretive. The challenge for you, or I guess the assignment for you during Mercury retrograde, is really paying attention to how are you saying things? How are the conversations you're having making the person on the other side feel? And also on that note, you might find yourself revisiting old conversations, reviewing a conversation that you've had over and over again. What have you missed every other time you've had it before? Rethinking how you're communicating all together. Communication is really big for you, Scorpio risings, during this Mercury retrograde. And there's plenty for you to learn right now, even in reviewing an old conversation. You might even like go back and reread text messages. I don't know why. I just felt like that should be said. You might want to go back and reread a text conversation if you're a Scorpio rising. So slowing down, reviewing how you're communicating, reviewing actual communication, there's more lessons to be learned in the review that you haven't quite learned just yet. Okay. Libra risings, there's no place like home, and this Mercury retrograde could definitely make you feel nostalgic for home because Mercury is moving backwards through your fourth house of home and family. So patterns, familial patterns, generational patterns could be coming up for you if you're a Libra rising. You might feel like taking a trip to visit some relatives, maybe pulling out an old box of photos, really revisiting your family history, and at the same time going a little deeper and reviewing how you're carrying on traditions from your family, both positive traditions and maybe some traditions that are ready to be let go of, maybe some patterns that are no longer serving future generations. It could even be like looking through old photos or spending time with family members reveals to you like, oh, I didn't notice that pattern before, but now that Mercury is retrograde, I'm seeing things from this new perspective of like, oh, grandma always does that thing, and I'm seeing that pattern in me. Oh my goodness. Okay, do I want to carry that on? Or it could be like, it could be something very practical and simple, like I really want to learn how to make my grandparents' quiche or something like that, you know, like a dish that they like to make. So it's not necessarily positive or negative, but it's this Mercury retrograde, if you're a Libra rising, is asking you what familial patterns do you want to carry on, and which ones are you ready to end with you? But definitely a feeling of nostalgia in general if you're a Libra rising. Okay, Virgo risings, my fellow Virgo risings. This Mercury retrograde brings a very potent opportunity for inner child work. If you are a Virgo rising, Mercury is your ruling planet. Welcome. So Mercury retrogrades are big for us because Mercury is defining our experience all the time. So when Mercury moves backwards, appears to move backwards, I should say, it feels like maybe we're taking steps back. Virgo rising, you might find yourself falling into old patterns or falling back into a former version of yourself. Even revisiting activities that you liked to do as a child, fun activities, games you liked to play, creative projects you liked to do, painting, coloring, things like that could help you process any unresolved issues and kind of help you embody that former childlike version of yourself and resolve anything that hasn't been healed there. I really see this Mercury retrograde as having the potential to be very healing for you if you're a Virgo rising. And in the same breath, this Mercury retrograde is really inviting us Virgo risings to be a little bit carefree and to remember what it was like not to have the weight of the world on our shoulders, to remember what it was like to spend an hour just coloring for the sake of coloring, playing games for the sake of playing games, being in that place of having fun, being carefree, letting your hair down a little, maybe even partying a little during Mercury retrograde. Like, go a little wild. It's okay. You don't have to have it all together. That could reveal to you parts of yourself maybe you've been suppressing. And that could be the pattern that shows up for you. Like, what parts of myself am I not letting have fun? Am I not letting be free? And there's beauty in that. So if you're a Virgo rising, might be a challenging time for you, but the antidote here during Mercury retrograde is to have fun, to be free, to be expressive, to let your hair down a little bit and not take things so seriously as maybe you normally do if you're like me. All right. Leo risings. As the new year begins, setting resolutions actually will probably feel very natural for you because Capricorn rules your sixth house of health, wellness, daily routines. And so you might be feeling that, like, I really want to start a new routine in the new year. Remember, there's no rush. Mercury is retrograde, Mars is retrograde. So setting realistic expectations for yourself will be very helpful. But instead of being like, okay, day 1, January 1st, January 2nd, Monday morning, I'm going to go to the gym. Give yourself permission, if you're a Leo rising, to take a little bit to look back and assess your routine from 2022. Did that work for you? What updates would I like to make to my routine? How can I level up? How can I maybe cut out some bad habits that have become part of my routine? Pay attention to the everyday details as you're setting resolutions, as you're looking to the new year. Review the small parts of your day that maybe aren't working in your best interest and slow down. There's no rush. But health, wellness. Told you I was dog sitting. Health and Okay, they're done. Health and wellness are going to be the big focus for you if you are a Leo rising. We got not even the normal little dogs. There's like a big dog with big barks. Come on. Sorry. Okay, so yes. In short, Leo risings, reviewing your health, reviewing your wellness, and reviewing the small daily habits that make up the big picture. What habits do you want to adjust and what's working for you? All right, Cancer risings. This Mercury retrograde is really bringing your relationships into focus. This is a time where lovers from the past could definitely pop up, or Cancer risings, you're probably most susceptible to feeling nostalgic about a past relationship and reaching out to an ex or inviting that energy back into your life. You might even be finding yourself reviewing the dynamics of a current partnership that you're in, whether romantic or not. As these people come back into your life, as you are reviewing how you relate to other people, notice the patterns. Notice the patterns that you're playing out. Notice the patterns that other people are playing out. And ask yourself, with Mercury retrograde in Capricorn, the sign of longevity, with Venus having just moved through your 7th house as well, ask yourself if these patterns, if these connections, if these relationships can stand the test of time. That's really the big question. And if it's somebody from the past, remember, why didn't this relationship stand the test of time? Is there a pattern here? Is there a pattern that I played into that's now showing up or has continued to show up? Or is it a pattern in someone else that's unhealed that is not compatible for me anymore? So relationship patterns will likely show up for you if you're a Cancer rising in some way, shape, or form. My cats started freaking out when they heard the dog. I've had the door open all day because, like I said, I'm dog sitting. So I didn't want to like just not be responsible, right? And as I was doing readings and the dogs would bark, the dogs on the other end of people getting the readings would start barking too. I'm like, they're experiencing Mars retrograde and Mercury retrograde too, so we got to cut them some slack. So a Cancer rising says, yep, all of this. Past lovers, a welcome return, and partnership ending days ago. Sending you love, my friend. And it is in alignment with your chart. Relationship patterns coming up, ending, restarting, being revisited. All these things are definitely coming right on time for you if you're a Cancer rising. Exactly. They are feeling the energy for sure. All right, moving on to our Gemini risings. Very interesting. Another note about the readings I had today. Both of the readings I did were Gemini risings. And it's interesting because Gemini risings are probably going to have the most intense Mercury retrograde this time around because Mercury is moving back through your 8th house, the house of shadow work, energetic contracts, energetic connections, debts, cord cutting, right? And Mercury is your ruling planet if you're a Gemini. So you already feel Mercury retrogrades, and this one just happens to be going through the most intense part of your chart. This Mercury retrograde is not just going to bring a review surface level. It'll likely feel like more of a deep dive if you're a Gemini rising. So during your review, observing your own limiting beliefs, your own shadows, observing the energetic contracts you have with other people, maybe enmeshment that you're experiencing right now. You might even have to like look over actual contracts you have too. If you made any sort of contracts in 2022, written agreements, looking them over could come up during Mercury retrograde. Taking note of any energetic leaks, anything pulling your energy away right now, and noticing how you can reclaim your power. The 8th house is a very powerful house, but in order to know how to reclaim our power, we have to recognize the patterns that we are habituating or perpetuating, I should say, that are leaking our energy, right? Or the relationships that we're having with other people that are pulling our energy. So this is the time to reclaim your power. This retrograde is an invitation to reclaim your power by getting real with your own limiting beliefs, getting real with the contracts and connections you have with other people, with other entities, and potentially just straight up cutting the cord. Gemini risings, cord cutting could be really powerful for you during this Mercury retrograde. Or it could be like someone from your past that you still have an energetic connection with and you didn't even realize you were still energetically connected to, pops back up to give you that chance to finally cut the cord. So it'll likely be a little bit of a deeper dive for you if you're a Gemini rising, but that's okay. That's all right. You can handle anything that comes your way, and everything coming up for all of us right now is coming up for a reason. Taurus risings. This Mercury retrograde feels more like giving yourself credit for all the things you've accomplished, all the things you've achieved, all the ways you've grown in 2022. What did you learn this past year that you're now ready to share with others? Where did you travel to? What's the next trip you want to book? The 9th house, which is where Mercury will be transiting for you, is all about expansion. So reviewing the ways you've expanded and reviewing the ways that you still want to expand in the new year. Capricorn energy is all about our long-term goals and the big picture, right? So for you, it's like a 40,000-foot review back and a 40,000-foot look ahead. But in order to know where we're going, we got to know what we've already accomplished, where we've been. It's like looking back on everything you did this year will show you how much potential you have to achieve in 2023. So for you, it just feels like honoring how much you've grown. If you're a Taurus rising, honoring all the ways that you have expanded and up-leveled so you can call more of that into your life in 2023. All right, last 3 signs. Aries risings. This feels like a similar energy to Taurus risings, like pat yourself on the back for all the things you've accomplished, all the ways you've succeeded in 2022. If you're an Aries rising, Jupiter is most likely in your 12th house. You're probably feeling that healing energy quite a bit if you're an Aries rising, because Chiron is most likely in your first house. So healing has been a big theme for you lately. And if you're an Aries rising, I invite you to include that in your review. All the things you've healed. That's part of success. That's part of your purpose. That's part of your accomplishments. So maybe you didn't quite get to the top of the mountain in 2022 that you were climbing, but by reviewing all the things you've already climbed, all of the hurdles you've already jumped, it can bring more confidence and the energy of success to help you continue climbing and continue succeeding in 2023. And even if you're not exactly where you want to be, knowing that everything is happening in divine timing and everything is an opportunity for you, especially for you right now, Aries risings, for healing. You're about to enter a very abundant season of your life if you're an Aries rising, as Jupiter is moving into Aries. So abundance is coming for you. Abundance is coming, okay? But first, take note of all the ways you've succeeded. Take note of all the things you've healed, and envision yourself standing on the top of the mountain and see yourself as success. See yourself as abundant. It's only going to call in more of that abundance for you in the new year. But it might even be that you are reviewing what your definition of success is. If you're an Aries rising, what does success actually look like to you? What is the mountain you're even climbing? Where are you trying to go? Those are questions that could be coming up for you during this Mercury retrograde, and those could be very healing questions to ask. You know, am I subscribing to someone else's definition of success, or am I making my own? What do my patterns around achievement look like? And getting more familiar with your definition of success will, of course, help you call more in the new year. Not to worry, Elena. I will add markers in case you missed your sign. Okay, Pisces risings. How has your network changed in 2022, this past year? You might have experienced some shifts or some changes in your friendships, in your community if you're a Pisces rising. So this retrograde is an opportunity to review what connections feel good for you. Where do you feel safe? What communities do you feel really good in? And also, have you outgrown or, kind of come out of alignment with certain groups of people that you've been hanging out with? So really reviewing your friendships, reviewing your community, reviewing your networks, and figuring out, where do I fit in? Where do I stand out? What do I want to feel like? What kind of community do I want to be in? Do I want to fit in, or do I want to stand out? These are all questions to ask yourself with Mercury transiting backwards through your 11th house, and noticing, how do I feel when I'm in this group of people? How do I feel when I'm with this group of people? How do I feel when I'm with this friend? How do I feel when I'm with this friend? Almost seeing that as data that you're gathering to help you call in more like-minded people, like-minded connections, and be around people that really make you feel good and make you feel like the best version of yourself in the new year. So really reviewing and taking stock of your connections, your network, who you surround yourself with during this Mercury retrograde. And last, but certainly not least, Aquarius risings. This Mercury retrograde will likely feel like a review of your healing, a review of maybe the things you've lost in 2022. What have you released already? What still needs more time to heal? If you're an Aquarius rising, this is definitely a period to slow down. Your season is coming. Venus is going to move into your sign shortly. A lot of planets are heading towards Aquarius, but with Mercury in Capricorn, with the Sun in Capricorn, with Venus still in Capricorn for a couple days, and of course Pluto coming for you. Pluto's coming for our Aquarius risings in March. What do you still need to heal? What do you still need to let go of for you to continue evolving? Your time to shine is coming, But now is a time to ask, what do I still need to release? What do I still need to heal? Getting in touch with your own sensitivity, getting in touch with your own intuition, with your compassion, with your spirituality, maybe even revisiting a spiritual practice you haven't done in a while to find deeper levels of healing. And the question I have for you, if you're an Aquarius rising, is what would you do if you knew you were fully supported? Trust that you already are. Trust that you already have all the support you need, and heal or release anything that doesn't make you feel supported, doesn't make you feel safe, so you can step into Aquarius season, step into this next phase of your life feeling really confident and healed, and like there's not any baggage you're bringing along with you. What baggage do you need to let go of? Okay, this is the time to heal, to release, and also at the same time to give yourself credit for how much you've already healed and released this past year. Okay, those are all the signs. We made it through. Let's finish up with our affirmation and a tarot pull. Today's affirmation: I am patient, knowing everything is happening for me in divine timing. Mercury in Capricorn is certainly inviting us to be more patient, right? Just slow down, even more so than we already have during Capricorn season, and to trust in divine timing, to trust in this review process, that this review is necessary, that this slowdown is necessary, that there's no rush. There's no rush getting to where we want to go, because it's all going to happen in divine timing anyway, right? So taking the slowdown as a potent opportunity to review what's really important to us, and to review anything that's unresolved so we don't keep carrying it into the new year and into this next cycle. Wow. Rachel says her partner is a Pisces rising, and he's been questioning what people he wants around him, who makes him feel safe. And for you, it's how do you feel stable? Fourth house, where are you feeling at home? You're already aligned, Rachel. Of course you are. Yeah, similar themes. Well, it's interesting too, because the two of you have almost opposite rising signs, right? So your charts are almost flip-flopped. So you are going to feel a lot of that opposite energy quite a bit. But with opposites, there's also similarity when we look at the chart too. You know this already. Hi, Nikki. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to you. Okay, let's finish up with the tarot pull. I'm going to pull from the Cosmic Dancer Oracle deck, because Mercury's doing a little dance, a little back step today. And we'll see what message needs to come through for all of us this Mercury retrograde. Now is your time to ask any final questions, share any final reflections you have about Mercury retrograde, about today's energy, the first quarter moon, Mercury conjunct Venus to start this retrograde. Relationships. That feels like a big theme for a lot of us. Not necessarily having the same experiences in relationships, but certainly thinking about them a lot more, or noticing the patterns that are coming up a lot more. Okay. Let's all go ahead and take one big deep breath together. And as we exhale, send our energy into the cards. Ask any questions we're looking for clarity on, and seeing which message wants to come through. So here we go. Give yourself the gift of the deepest breath you've taken all day. Breathing in, holding, and release. What do we need to know? This is perfect. It says, honor the lineage. Honor the lineage. Lineage feels like the perfect word right now for Capricorn season. Capricorn energy is all about the wisdom of past generations, the wisdom of our lineage. So let's find out what message this card has for us. Honor the lineage. When knowledge, wisdom, and experience are repeatedly passed down from one soul to another, they unite in a living stream of energy that transcends time and space. When we receive such energy from our ancestors, teachers, or predecessors, it's known in Sanskrit as Guru Shishya Parampara. I butchered that. I'm sorry for anybody who knows Sanskrit. It means an unbroken chain. It is time for you to access this sacred stream of energy by connecting with your lineage. Once you do this, you will realize that you have never actually been an I. You are a vital part of a powerful and transcendent we. Look deeply at the ways your predecessors may be able to support you with your inquiry. They want to do so and are merely awaiting your attention and request. For example, if you're asking about a partnership, perhaps the spirit of a deceased grandparent would like to help you harmonize your relationship patterns. Or if you're embarking on a new course of study, you might consider learning about the teachers of your teacher and even the teachers of those teachers and the countless generations of teachers who came before. Where did they live? To what customs and traditions did they adhere? What expressions of wisdom did they impart? Even if you were not raised by your birth family or are unclear about the origins of your discipline or practice, you can set the intention to connect with the vast body of wisdom and support that is a gift from the many helpful beings of the past that now dwell in the spirit realm. Connect with them regularly by calling on them and trusting your intuition, or connect with them more formally through prayer, ritual, or meditation. You might make an altar to honor the wisdom of your lineage and tend to it regularly with things like candles, incense, and simple offerings of flowers and fruit. To connect with the helpful beings and body of wisdom that combine to form your unique lineage, sit comfortably in a chair with your feet flat and your spine straight. Close your eyes with a gentle smile. Bring your palms together in prayer pose at your heart. Notice the breath and let it naturally begin to deepen. Then call on your ancestors or teachers in your chosen discipline or art. Ask them to come and support you as you add your unique energy and experiences to the unbroken chain of wisdom and inspiration. Feel and sense them standing behind you and on both sides of you. Notice how their number is incomprehensibly vast, stretching off into the infinite past until it connects with the origin of all things, spirit, divine source, and the cosmic dance itself. Consciously connecting to your lineage provides deep roots and grounded stability. When you draw upon this ancient resource, you supercharge your soul purpose and divine life path. You have a counsel to turn to and codes by which to live. Connecting to them will lend clarity, guidance, and direction. Wow. I am so grateful this card came up because this is something we did not talk about today. The wisdom and ancestry aspect of Capricorn energy. And this Mercury retrograde in Capricorn is an invitation for all of us to rekindle our connection to our ancestors, to reconnect to the wisdom that's innate within us, to honor the patterns that have been passed down through our lineage, and to take what resonates, add our magic to it, and unsubscribe with any patterns that are no longer helpful to the lineage. That was a really powerful card. Relationship patterns. There's patterns again, right? Relationships. I guess I'm writing another letter to my gram tomorrow. Such a perfect card. Yeah, that's a beautiful practice during Mercury retrograde too. Writing a letter to an ancestor who has passed. Or simply, if that's a little much for you, I totally get it. Simply asking for a sign, asking for a message, asking for reassurance, asking for something to let you know that they're present, that your ancestors are present, that you're guided, that you're supported, because you are. You are guided, you are supported, and you have so much wisdom to add to your lineage. And already all the wisdom of the generations before you inherent within you. Such a great way to end today's live stream, and on such a positive note too, which I am grateful for. All right, everybody, that is going to do it for me and for this episode of Transits Today. I will be back tomorrow to talk through the energy of the weekend, of the new year, talk through your New Year's Eve plans, through your New Year's Day plans if you have any, and yeah, maybe even review the year that is coming to a close now that Mercury is retrograde. Rachel says, I love writing letters to her. She has an Aries stellium, perfect for the Aries moon, right? And she makes herself known. Of course she does. If she has an Aries stellium. One time I wrote a letter to her and the next day I saw 222222 on the TV and so many twos. All those angel numbers. Messages from our ancestors guiding us on the right path, letting us know we're not alone. I love that. Sending you love, Corby. And thank you to all of you for all the patience and grace that you've been giving me. I appreciate you all more than you know. And I wish you all a beautiful review during this Mercury retrograde that we're embarking on together. There's no reason to fear the retrograde, just opportunities to learn lessons and to review the things that aren't serving us and the things that are. All right. Have a beautiful rest of your evening. I will see you all tomorrow, but until I see you next, stay curious. Thank you so much for joining us and aligning with the energy of the universe today. If you enjoyed this morning's episode of Transits Today, you can join our live astrology discussion every weekday morning right here wherever you're watching. And head to thespiritualjournalist.com to read your daily astrology forecast and browse the Spiritual Shop. The most fun way to help keep these forecasts free and support more content like this is to buy yourself a little something on our website. But if you're feeling extra generous, you can also buy me a coffee to fuel future live streams. Just tap the link in the description or head to buymeacoffee.com and search The Spiritual Journalist. And speaking of, you can also tune in to The Spiritual Journalist, our weekly live interview where we ask our guests questions about everything from crystals and manifestation to mental health and the environment. Those conversations stream live right here wherever you're watching now every Tuesday. I'm so grateful you found us here, and I can't wait for our next conversation.